Hello everyone, this is H to the Yesky Husky here, and I'm going to be casting... Oh, I did the intro again. I was telling myself the whole time I wasn't going to do it, but regardless, it is going to be Gatored spawning up here in the top left side. He is going to be the green Protoss, and KawaiiRice, his opponent, going to be green with Envy if he loses this next game, because he is against the ropes in the bottom left side as the yellow Terran. So again, a Terran versus Protoss in this series. Is this going to be the last game? KawaiiRice, I keep almost saying Korean because it's KR. KawaiiRice is against the ropes, and after losing that last game, Gatored is slowly kind of stumbling towards the ropes, but he still has the chance to get up on the turnbuckle and knock KawaiiRice out. But after that last game, I don't know, KawaiiRice definitely spicing up his build a little bit. Didn't go for Marines or Marauders. The second game by KawaiiRice, I didn't quite understand the thought process behind that build. And then with the perfect execution of Gatored, I mean, that build just did not stand a chance at all. So I would think from KawaiiRice's perspective, he can analyze those games and go, look, my Hellion drop got lucky, it worked, it crushed him. He's definitely not going to be hurt too much mentally by that loss because that wasn't a straight-up game. I mean, the Protoss knew exactly what went wrong in that last game, and so you're not going to be too devastated after a loss like that. If you lose in a straight-up battle where you're pulling all the stops and you still can't seem to win, that's when a loss hurts much more. But Gatored, I think if he just plays the game he knows, doesn't try and go for some crazy delayed 4-gate, then I think he should be just fine going into these games. So KawaiiRice can look at those games and be like, okay, game number 1, I put on some early pressure, did some damage, and then in the long macro game, I was able to kind of tough it out. Game number 2, I tried to variate my build quite a bit, really had no success with it, got crushed. Game number 3, I got lucky with that Hellion drop, and is that something he can rely on later? This poor SCV is trapped outside. Is that something he can rely on later? So I would... just kind of my little prediction here is I expect KawaiiRice to play it safe, to play it standard, get those Marines and Marauders and things like that. That's just my guess. And for our Protoss, he can really do anything he wants, but obviously don't do another 4-gate, as that was just almost painful to watch. But KawaiiRice did, his build was really good against what the Protoss player did. So not trying to take anything away from either player, especially since both players have shown it is possible to take games off of each other, and that is what we're going to see who can do that in this next game. KawaiiRice is going to be expanding. He does have his command center hidden back here. If you're wondering why it's this far back, well, because he doesn't want a probe who's kind of trying to sneak his way up here to see as much as he can. You do not want to reveal that to your opponent. You can see this poor little SCV over here got completely forgotten about and is slashed at by the Zealot. Is not killed though. However, KawaiiRice is seeing the Chrono Boost not only on the Cybernetics core but also on the Gateway, which means this Protoss player wants to throw down his tech as quickly as he can. And considering that the Protoss currently only has one Gateway, that he's going to lose a pylon here if he keeps doing that, attacking his own pylon there. But I mean, KawaiiRice is only seeing one Gateway, so our Protoss player is delayed on throwing down the buildings he wants to, which is going to be a Nexus. So I guess it wasn't delayed all that much because you can see very few resources do remain there for the Protoss. So guess what, guys? Give me an I was going to do a cheer for macro, and I totally messed it up. So I guess I'm not a very good cheerleader. But we are going to see a macro game here from both players, unless Gatored does something insane and bananas and cancels this Nexus, which I don't predict happening at all. And again, the map is Tal'Darim Ultra, if I didn't say that, which is not too surprising to me that both of these players would decide to go for this macro play. KawaiiRice, though, did he scout this expansion? Because he's taking a bit of a risk here by flying his command center over here already. But you can see this time, not as much of a risk because he is taking no chances. He has 2 bunkers down, and they are full of Marines who are just ready to unload on any Protoss units that try and sneak by and attack him. So he is definitely taking a slight risk by landing it there. And also he is delaying his buildings by quite a bit. I mean, this is 200 resources on bunkers. I mean, that's a factory's worth of minerals or an additional barracks with some Marines. So he is definitely trying to get that economic advantage a little bit earlier. So I got to hand it to him. When you are down in a series, a lot of times you do have to take those risks, as they can pay off, especially if your opponent's playing it safe and sitting back in their base. If you take a couple of risks, it can easily put you in the lead. But right now, Gatored does have his 3rd Gateway finishing. Once again, going for this heavy sentry usage, which basically relies on force fields once it comes down to it. So if KawaiiRice was moving out at around the 6-minute mark, he'd be running into 4 sentries, and you got to use those sentries not only to try and pick off just a couple of units, but also to buy time long enough to get in more additional reinforcements, as well as cut out those probes and things like that. So he really is preferring that sentry usage. Now, we do have a starport on the way for KawaiiRice. We do have siege tech on the way, as well as siege tanks being created. So if you're wondering why he's deciding to do that on this map rather than do it earlier, well, on this map, you can, if you can move out across the map, you can set up a really nice position right here, easily guarded by any Marines or Marauders or anything like that, and you just start bombarding this expansion. If you lock down 1 gas and a couple of mineral patches, then you are in heaven, because that is the natural. That is not the third base. That is the natural of the Protoss. And so I think that's why he's going to decide to go ahead and get those siege tanks on this map. We do have the armor upgrade on the way, which is phenomenal for Protoss against a Terran player. And we have a second forge on the way. I really like this from Gatored. And he's just going to work on those armor and attack upgrades for his units, making them so much more powerful. And we've seen great success with that from him in the last games, getting those upgrades. He's also working on Zealot Charge. And again, if I say this a lot in my cast, but it's absolutely true. If you're wondering, how do these players get away with getting so many upgrades? Like if you played on ladder and you're throwing down 2 forges with upgrades, you're throwing down charge for the zealots and all that, and then you just get crushed. A lot of it has to do with extremely good game sense and extremely good scouting. So you can see he does have this watchtower right here. He knows exactly when his opponent's going to move out, and he can cancel. He'd be able to cancel this Nexus that I'm assuming he's going to throw down. He could cancel his upgrades if he needed to, just get out some additional units. And I mean, just from what he's seen so far from KawaiiRice on what he's doing, then he feels safe doing this, and he is absolutely right, especially since he's going against siege tanks and things like that. But here comes Banshee Harass. I don't know the amount of damage this can cause. Did he spot that expansion? He did, so he definitely needs to do some damage with this Banshee, but he's revealing the Banshee by attacking that pylon, giving vital seconds. That is 2 or 3 probe kills he's not going to be able to get, and the Stalker will buy some time right here by warping in, and this Banshee should be able to kill it, but Banshee's much more costly than a Stalker, and this Banshee is going to try and get away, which she will survive. She did get 5 kills. That could have easily been 7 or 8 if she did not attack that pylon. However, unfortunately for KawaiiRice, that Banshee just had a trigger finger like none else, and really just had a vendetta against this poor little scouting pylon. But you know what? The joke's on her, because the pylon already has its shields back, and it is just back to being happy as ever, just sitting there spinning, practicing its ballet moves and all of that. But it does look like KawaiiRice really prefers getting his Ravens, as he does have another Raven pulling 4 SCVs to repair this. Maybe a bit of overkill, but then again, if you're an SCV, man, you're going to get anything you can get, especially a Banshee pilot. Imagine taking her out on a date. Everyone would be making fun of her, though, for dating a lowly SCV, who is the backbone of the Terran army, of course. But regardless, the third base now up and running for our Protoss player. These SCVs are doing... Oh, he's going to move out now. KawaiiRice, he is definitely committing to this heavily, sending out a lot of SCVs. He has way more workers than his opponent, and I think he's thinking, well, my opponent has expanded. I'm going to go ahead and try and punish him right now. He is moving out with Banshees. Do not have Cloak on those, by the way. And Marines, Siege Tanks, as well as a random Raven, which could use a point defense drone. But it looks like the battle is going to commence right away, right out the gate. All the SCVs get taken out. Zealots are pissed with their Zealot legs. Look at how quickly this Terran army just evaporated. That was not good game sense by KawaiiRice moving out with this army. And he just lost all of his Siege Tanks, which it is much easier to warp in Zealots than it is to build Siege Tanks. And imagine if you could warp in Siege Tanks in Siege mode to wherever you wanted on the map. That would definitely be interesting. And now the Stalkers do have that blink, which does mean they can chase this army down if they please. I think they're going to be a little too scared to run all the way across the map. But again, KawaiiRice, that push was trying to punish the Protoss player for expanding very early to a third base. But guess what? He didn't punish anything other than the people who were loyally joining his army by sending them to their deaths. So now KawaiiRice definitely going to be behind in that battle. And you may look at the units lost tab and be like, well, it's really the Protoss has lost more units. Like, right? That means that it should be pretty even, but you really got to look at the game past just the units lost tab. The expansion is much earlier. I mean, the command center is just now going to be landing over here. Workers haven't even transferred down there yet. Plus, he was able to kill some workers. 14 workers killed so far, and the Banshees just have not done any successful harassment, really, to very much of a degree. The scan's going to reveal just how many gateways there are, and also that upgrades are continuing to be on the way, which is also another way the Protoss player is ahead. He already has, what is this, 1 and 2 armor. So 1 attack, 2 armor, second attack almost done. KawaiiRice, looking at the upgrades, just now starting that +1 attack at 15-ish minutes into the game is when that's going to be finished. And he does not have a second engineering bay going for the armor upgrade. So one thing that Protoss players are starting to learn is if you make as few units as possible to hold off any sort of attack, if you can squeeze out double upgrades, whew, that is absolutely terrifying for a Terran player. It is Terran-fying. Okay, that is how crazy good it is. And he could even start the +3 if he wanted. That would be ridiculously early, when I think there may be a sweet spot where if he just uses all these warp gates right when all of his buildings are kicking in, oh yeah, he is going for that sweet spot indeed. And somehow still squeezing out +3 attack. This guy is insane. Insane. Throwing down another expansion. No, he does decide to cancel it. Those are those little cubes falling down. I think that would be playing way too greedy if he decided to do that. But, I mean, the 2-2 is done, and here comes the attack right now. I don't know if he's going to be able to win this battle. It does focus down the 1 siege tank, and the Zealots almost seeing impervious to damage with that 2 armor upgrade. Wow, a vastly superior Terran army getting shredded just because of those upgrades. Looking at the units lost tab, again, the Protoss player has lost more, but I feel like KawaiiRice didn't do enough damage there to really make himself comfortable in this game. I mean, look, there's already a Protoss army on the field. It is 143, however, 143 supply to 96. But I'm curious on the worker count. No, they are fairly even. Virtually no units for the Protoss. So I think KawaiiRice is really missing his opportunity here to cause a lot of damage. But I just get a sense that even though KawaiiRice is ahead in supply, I just know the potency, I think is the word I'm looking for, of a Protoss army who has massive upgrades, soon to be 3-3. So if KawaiiRice doesn't punish this quickly enough, then it can quickly snowball out of control. But 171 supply to 107. You got to remember, though, there is double robo here as well as a lot of gateways. So we will be seeing a lot of Colossus. Banshees being mixed in here. It would be interesting to see Cloak there, but there is cannons at each expansion, so may not be the best choice. I don't know if KawaiiRice realizes that he needs to do some damage within the last 30 seconds or so, because look, 3 armor is going to be done, +3 attack at the 17-minute mark. Are you kidding me? So KawaiiRice is going to be moving out now. He does have these Banshees, which if Blink takes them out, that's going to be devastating, but if not, he could do a lot of worker harass here. I think it would be very wise to set up siege right here and then use the Banshees to harass, trying to lure those units into a siege line, which is exactly what he's going to do. Unwisely, I would say, going for this gas with the Banshees. That is not a huge deal, though, because at this point, he already has his 3rd base fully saturated with workers. What he needs to do is work on killing this Nexus, and KawaiiRice has 0 Vikings, and he's going to be going against multiple Colossus, which are fully upgraded now. KawaiiRice could try and get this Nexus if he wants. He needs to make sure not to lose these Banshees, but if he blinks down there, we'll be able to take him out. The Banshees horribly placed right now. The Stalker's easily eating them up. The 2 Colossus are going to go down, though, and it does look like these hero Zealots with that 3-3 just doing so much splash damage there, and KawaiiRice unfortunately not able to get in range of this Nexus, and he lost all of his Banshees. I think there's 1 Banshee left on the field. No, 2 Banshees now. But either way, losing way too many Banshees there in that engagement just to snipe the 1 or 2 Colossus, showing you how important positioning is. This Marine's like, I got this, guys, as he tried to take that out all by his lonesome. But for 1 Marine to do 1,500 damage, that is going to take a while regardless. So KawaiiRice is running up here. He's trying to take this out. He's playing really greedy. Not as greedy as possible, though, but he really wants to kill his Nexus. He may be able to get it. Don't know if the Protoss player is going to have the nerves to run over here to save it. The Nexus will go down if KawaiiRice just micros a little bit. He does. Down goes the Nexus. However, KawaiiRice doesn't realize there's another Nexus over here on the right side. It has not been revealed, so KawaiiRice thinking he's doing okay. But the supply is 199.